Welcome to the Church Answers podcast. My name is Jess Rayner, and I'm here as always with my dad, Thom Rayner, and it's another special treat because we have someone other than you on the podcast, Dad. And I know the listeners like you, but man, I like it so much more when it's more than just you.
That's because you get so much out of me.
Yeah, that is true. And really, it doesn't take much to get too much of you. But hey, we have a
Have you been talking to your mother again?
All the time. She's the best one to talk to. So we have a special guest with us today. We have Mike from Church Growth Services joining us on the podcast today. Mike, we're glad you're here. Welcome.
Hey, great to be here, guys. Glad to be a part of the journey with you and part of the journey with the Church Answers family of churches and pastors that are part of this programming.
Well, we love it. Before we jump into our topic today, which we're going to be talking about reconnecting your congregation to the vision through generosity, I'm excited about this topic today. Before we jump into it, we do have some sponsors we want to thank. We want to thank Cheney Associates for all the work they do for the local church. If you're not familiar with Cheney Associates, they are the accounting firm for the church. And so if you have any financial needs, bookkeeping needs, make sure you go to CheneyAssociates.com/church answers and go see what they offer. Maybe you have a bookkeeper that's about to retire. Go check them out and see what they can do. They know that stewardship matters. They know your time is precious, and they can help with both. They do a tremendous job helping churches. Over 1,100 churches they help with accounting and financial needs. And so maybe you're at 1101 and go check them out. So thank you so much to Cheney and Associates. Well, today we're talking about reconnecting your congregation to the vision through generosity. I'm excited about this topic. Dad, I know you're excited about this topic as well. We were talking about it before we jumped on.
I am. Mike Stadelmayer has been a part of the Church Answers family for years and years and years. I've mentioned it on more than one occasion. We invite partners, we invite sponsors, and so we don't go out with any kind of advertising packet or say, here's something for you. We just say, okay, we think you align with what we do, and we think we align with what you do. And that is proved perfectly true because Mike Stadelmayer loves the local church. He loves pastors. He loves church leaders, and he's been doing this for a long time. Don't let his youthfulness fool you. He's really been doing it for many, many, many years. Mike, we're going to talk today about this whole idea of vision and generosity and how you can reconnect them. I think when many church leaders begin to look at vision and generosity, they get it because when they do it and when they talk about it, they understand it. But you're going to break this down into some bite-sized chunks that will help us understand even more. So let's just get right into this, Mike. This whole idea of reconnecting your vision and to congregation to the vision and generosity. Talk to us about how this increases momentum for a church, which is so vitally important in churches.
Yeah, I really love this topic because when church leaders and pastors start talking about doing a generosity campaign to do a building or to renovate their space or to get their debt paid down or something like that, they immediately start thinking about how much can I raise and, what kind of building am I going to get? They think of buildings in dollars. And as we began just talking and dreaming about what to share, so many benefits that go way beyond dollars and buildings happen through a good run generosity campaign that pastors don't realize until on the other side of it. And then they were like, this was so much more than about raising money for a new building. And one of the things that it really does is help the church get reconnected to that vision of why are we here and what is God calling us to do as a local church, because vision leaks. And I remember early in my days in pastoral ministry, hearing Herbert Cooper talking to Craig Rochelle. And in that process, he was talking about vision. And he said, pastors, about the time you are sick and tired of talking about vision and you don't think you can share it one more time, they're just starting to get it. And that vision leaks and people start getting into their daily life and routines and they forget why we're here and what is God calling us to do that is so much larger than just surviving the next day and going to work and, what's for dinner and all those other things that we deal with every day. And so I love this topic. and it can really propel a congregation forward again because of that reconnecting a vision. And as they connect to that vision, that momentum starts to happen again. And
Jess,
sometimes it's stalled, and that momentum just starts pushing forward again.
I've heard you say on more than one occasion, as my pastor, but as the pastor of the church at Spring Hill, that you can feel momentum in church. You can feel how the Holy Spirit is working. It's not just something that is this high in the clouds idea. It's something that you really can sense. And you've talked about that on many occasions, and it's often reflected in the generosity.
Yeah, there is. I think, and Mike, maybe you can even speak to this, talking about the increasing the momentum. People love to be reminded. Obviously, we know why we give. The biblical mandate. The generosity that we know. We know all those pieces, but just ultimately the practical side of ministry. The why you give. And so when you tie it to something tangible like a building, that feels very practical, and that can increase momentum. But it's hard. It's hard to continue to remind over and over again. I feel like I've said our vision statement. I probably have said it 1,000 times, if not more. And there's still people that haven't caught wind of it yet. But you're right, Dad. And what you're saying is that, when you can begin to cast that vision, it does that momentum. It just builds. Yeah. But then even without, like you said, without a building campaign or anything, the generosity begins to flow with it. Mike, I'm sure you see that a lot. I mean, just more vision, more generosity, more vision, almost feels cyclical.
Yeah. And people really want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get reconnected to the vision, they're moving beyond themselves, being a part of something larger, something God is doing in and through the church, in and through the community, and into new changed lives. And all of a sudden, people are more energized to share their faith, to invite people, to volunteer, to engage in so many different ways. And we see it happening over and over again. We were working with a church, City Church, in the Midwest here, and just a 5-year-old church running 750. And through that generosity campaign, increased momentum. And from the time that they opened their doors a year and a half later, 1,600 people were showing up because the congregation re-engaged on that vision and began inviting, and God began to move in and through people, and they just exploded. The increased momentum was just palpable as they moved through that journey. And we tell pastors and churches all the time, the best generosity campaigns is never about buildings. It's never about dollars. It's about vision, mission, and life change. The impact you're going to have on your community, which is the why behind the what.
Mike, for years, the old church growth movement, and it is old because it started in 1955 when Donald McGavran wrote a book called The Bridges of God, and it's had many proponents since then, often criticized today and sometimes unfairly depicted. But my point on that is it was in the early days of the church growth movement that they started talking about, as you are looking to grow, not only look for opportunities, but look for the barriers that need to be removed.
Yeah.
Connect your long-term barriers with vision and with generosity. Kind of stir all that together and tell us what you have.
Yeah, churches have bottlenecks in ministry, and sometimes it's parking, sometimes it's children's space, sometimes it's just failed campaigns in the past, building projects. We worked with one church. They've been trying to get a building project off the ground for 15 years.
Wow.
And they had failed 3 different times. And with us partnering with them and coming alongside, getting a whole good team together to help, I just got a text about 2 weeks ago of pictures of the new building going up, and they're breaking a 15-year barrier. That was just a reminder of the struggle and the failures that they've had in the past. And it is just propelling the church forward in a really significant way.
That is so cool.
I'm just kind of curious with that particular story, Mike, and you're talking about, reconnecting your congregation to the vision through generosity. Like what practical pieces did you see them do? Like how did they begin to, if they had 3 failed experiences and this time the vision caught, is there anything different? Like, how did you coach them? Like, if I'm a pastor, I'm going, okay, yeah, I like that. That sounds good. Like, what's one cool thing that I could do, or easy thing, or maybe hard thing? I don't know. What's one thing I could do to kind of help maybe break some of those long time barriers?
Yeah, one of the issues is 50% of the building plans that get drawn up never get built, and they collect dust. And part of that reason is because they lack a balance between ministry needs, facility needs, and their financial reality. And often they call in their generosity partner way too late in the game. I can't tell you how many pastors and churches I talk to have a $4 million drawing and a $2 million budget. And they're too far down the road. They've fallen in love with those drawings, and they're not a financial reality. And my next question was, is it feasible? And often the answer is no. And they're stuck.
Okay.
And, often it's just a function of finding that right balance. And this is especially true in today's environment where construction costs have significantly risen since the pandemic.
Okay.
We're with a church in Arkansas right now, and they're $500 a square foot.
Oh my goodness.
That's
insane.
Heartbreaking.
It is. We're talking with Mike Stadelmayer, the CEO of Church Growth Services, a longtime ministry partner of Church Answers. And really, there's no other place I recommend to churches if they have anything related to generosity, stewardship, giving, etc. And we've been talking about increasing momentum, breaking long-term barriers. I know another way that barriers can be broken in addition to this generosity, and it's when you get an organization that gets you with an outward focus in the community, Jess.
That's right. We want to take a moment and thank our second sponsor for today. It's Upward Sports. They are all about helping you, just like we're talking about today, generosity and growth. They want to help you, but in a different way. They want to help you go out and reach the community, specifically through sports. And so one particular way they're doing that right now is through Upward Running for Adults. They now offer a 5K challenge. And so you may be thinking, I don't have a facility. I can't do anything for sports. Well, if you got a road, you got a sidewalk, you got a place to run. Then Upward can help you. Go to upward.org/runcoach and see all the things they offer from a 5K challenge. See how simple it is to start. You just need one passionate leader. You can build strong connections in your community. Just let them come. Just go reach out to them. Go to upward.org/runcoach and see how they can help you reach the community, because we want to be able to get to the point where now you need to go talk to Mike because your church is growing at such a fast pace, because you got Upward, they're helping you reach the community. And now it's like, hey, we need to do more. We got a capital campaign. And that's when Mike comes into play. And so, Mike, we're loving this, that we're talking about reconnecting your congregation to the vision through generosity. The idea that as you begin to cast vision, you can increase momentum. As you begin to cast vision and people begin to give, you break long time barriers. And you kind of mentioned this at the front end, that as a church begins to reconnect to the vision through generosity, it increases the general fund giving. There's a lasting effect. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, absolutely. You see it over and over again. And often when we sit down with churches and we talk about a generosity initiative, one of the first things the pastor or some church leaders are concerned about is, well, if we do this, are they going to just transfer money from their general fund giving to the building project? And honestly, we don't see that happening. First of all, we make our intentions clear throughout the process, but at the same time, churches are raising millions of dollars above and beyond their general fund. 7 out of 10 that we work with see their general fund growing at the same time. Wow. And I know that's counterintuitive, but we serve a really big God.
Yes.
And that's what he does when he gets a hold of hearts, and he challenges people in this area. I had a pastor friend of mine at a Baptist church, served that church for 25 years, had never done a big campaign other than, put the thermometer on the wall and challenge the church for a week or two, and, smaller things. He was really nervous about the budget getting impacted. And we sat down and we talked about it. And I said, Pastor, I can't guarantee it, but I'm telling you, I see it over and over again. Your general fund will grow at the same time. At the end of the project, he called me up and he goes, Mike, we are so excited. We've got new space for our Awana ministries. We've got this youth center now. We paid cash for this thing. We had $25,000 left over from the project that we sent out to missionaries. It was so exciting to bless those missionaries. And he said, you remember way back in the beginning when you said that my general fund would grow? And then he said these famous words, not that I didn't believe you. Translation, I did not believe you.
Uh-huh.
But he goes, our general fund giving is up 10 to 15% a year for the last 3 years, as well as raising the $1.2 million.
That's a great way to connect vision to the generosity. Man, that is a telling story.
Yeah, and my response was, Pastor, that's what God does. That's who he is. And we see it happen over and over again. So long term, beyond the initial capital campaign giving, we see new givers, people who have increased their faith and are giving more, and churches are experiencing 10, 15% more giving just within their existing body, let alone the growth that occurs through some of those initiatives that they're taking on.
Once again, we're talking to Mike Stadelmayer, CEO of Church Growth Services. We're talking about the topic, reconnect your congregation to the vision through generosity. He's given us some great examples and just great principles of increased momentum, of the fact that it breaks long-time barriers, increases general fund giving. You just heard him say that. And Mike, also this vision, this generosity, this connection here also is connected to ministry opportunities expanding in the church. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, often, many older churches don't have a lobby space. So families can't really connect. They're kind of pushed in and out of the service, and they don't have time to build relationships and a space to build relationships. Often there's a bottleneck. Worked with a church in Michigan, and their youth, they were so far out of space, they'd grown from 50 to 400 that they were parking in the grass. The youth were meeting in the kitchen, sitting on the countertops and everything. Everything was being hindered because of what God was doing. And often in this process, it just opens the door again for expanded growth, because there's lids in those bottlenecks. And as you address those lids, even as you refresh the space and do kind of a renovation, sometimes it just inhibits people inviting because they're embarrassed about the bare, thin carpet or the other pieces. And when you start addressing those issues, they're feeling more comfortable just being inviting of people back to their church. And we see it so often, it becomes a for ministries growing all over the place.
Yeah, that's so true. I believe it was Sam who said at some point, your facility is your greatest discipleship tool. I think it was him. I think it originated from him. We'll give him credit for it here. But you're saying that this idea of maybe you're not even you're building something new, but maybe you just need to do a renovation. Maybe there's something that you need to move your church towards. You're saying when you can come alongside a church and help them increase their generosity, it's going to potentially do even more than they think. They're going to have more opportunities to do more ministry. And so the way when you talk about increasing momentum, breaking barriers, increasing general fund, expanding ministry opportunities, it almost feels like this domino effect, that it's going to enhance all these different areas. That momentum builds, the generosity builds. And so more and more ministry. What about just as a quick question, you talked about capital campaigns, you talk about renovations. Does debt reduction come into play at all with any of this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I inherited a church that was house poor. They had way more debt than they could handle. And you talk about breaking barriers. One was a cultural barrier. Every single time I brought up a new ministry, the very first question that came out of that leadership team was, so how are we going to pay for that? And they had a poverty mindset and a survivalist mode instead of, we have a big God who's calling us to reach more people in the community. And it had just grown over the years because of that huge burden of debt. And no matter how fast you want to sail that boat into the future, the anchor's still down. And you got to lift the anchor. so that you can move quicker and better. And then you start imagining, let's say you got a $20,000 a month mortgage. What could your church do with $20,000 more a month?
Wow. Yeah.
How many diapers at the Crisis Pregnancy Center? How many more people can you feed? How can you help fund missions? Add a staff person that can help you grow. There's so many things that is freeing when you eliminate that debt. And I'm talking to a church right now. They've been carrying that debt for 23 years. And the whole congregation is so tired of it that they're like, we need to be free. And it is just become a cultural issue, let alone a financial barrier.
So the debt has squashed their vision.
Yeah.
And so you're able to come alongside churches and help them overcome that. Just to help see the debt load reduce, and then recapture their vision as well. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's so good. That's so good.
So we've been talking to Mike Stadelmayer, the president of Church Growth Services, and Mike's going to be with us for a couple of podcasts. He's always got great nuggets of information. That's why we love bringing him on and love to hear from him about stewardship, generosity, giving, and all of these ideas. And we're going to be back, and we download 2 podcasts on the same day. So as you're listening to this one, the other podcast will be available as well. And I'm urging you to come back for that one, because we're going to be talking about faith. We're going to be talking about culture shift and unifying congregations and developing new volunteers connected to giving. So we look forward to it. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, great to be here, guys.
Yeah, well, we look forward to talking about that as well, because, as Mike is talking about increasing generosity in your church, you're going to have some help with all that money that's coming in, which is why we recommend you contact Chaney Associates. So maybe you need it in the same day. You needed to call Church Growth Services, and you need to call Chaney Associates to get them.
Those would be 2 strategic calls,
Very strategic calls, because you're preparing for the future and also preparing for the present. And so if you have any financial needs, any bookkeeping or accounting needs, make sure you go check out ChaneyAssociates.com/church answers. They want you to lead your church. Let them handle the numbers. Decades of experience serving churches all across the country, 1,100 different churches. They speak your language. They know ministry. So go make sure you check out ChaneyAssociates.com/church answers, and then head on over to churchgrowthservices.com as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Church Answers podcast. Go ahead and go on the next episode. We're going to continue this conversation with Mike, and we look forward to seeing you and having you subscribe, give us all the things that you're supposed to do with the podcast.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Do it today. We appreciate it. And then we'll see you on the next episode.